Some of you have expressed some confusion on how to solve proportions, so I'm going to review it here. I'm going to do a few different problems with you. And just a reminder, proportions just mean we're setting two ratios equal to each other, and we need to make sure that they are equivalent. It's very similar to finding equivalent fractions, and we can look at it the same way would you use a ratio table. So, for example, this problem here, 7/3 is compared to 4 over what? We're trying to figure out what t would be. We could set that ratio table up. We could say I've got 7 to 3, and if I put the 4 here, I'm trying to figure out what t would be. So when we've done ratio tables in the past, we've kind of shown you that you might start with your original ratio 7 to 3, and then you would count by those numbers. So that's repeated addition, which is the same as multiplication. So here I've got 7 times 1 is 7, 7 times 2, 7 times 3, 7 times 4, and whatever I do to one part of the ratio, I'm going to do the same to maintain that relationship, just like I would for fractions. So I've got 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times 4 is 12. So that's what that ratio table is, and these are all proportionate. It means for every 7 of something, I'm going to have 3 of whatever it is I'm comparing it to. So if I double that 7, that's times 2, double, I'm going to double that 3. So what I'm looking at here then is in this problem, I've got numbers that are not as nice and neat. I've got to figure out what it is I'm going to do to one part of the ratio to get the other. So meaning if I've got my 7 compared to 3 and I'm going to want it 4 compared to something, I need to figure out what am I going to multiply this 7 by to get 4. And whatever I multiply that 7 by to get 4, I'm going to multiply this 3 by the same thing to get t. Because remember, these relationships are multiplicative, meaning we're going to multiply or divide by something. Now, I could choose to divide 7 by something to get 4, but I just think getting in the habit of saying I'm going to multiply it by some number will make it easier, because I can multiply by a fraction, and that's the same as dividing by something. If the fraction is less than 1, my product will be a smaller amount. So just to give you a visual for that, if I say something like 7 times, and for some reason this Khan Academy will not let me draw dots, so that's why my multiplication signs keep coming out looking weird. But if I do 7 times 1, it's going to remain the same. If I do 7 times 2, it's going to get larger because 2 is greater than 1. But if I do 7 times 1/2, 1/2 is less than 1, so my product will be less than 1. Just a quick review there of what that meant. Okay, but back to what we're doing here. 7 times what will equal 4? Well, I'm going to actually write that out like an equation. 7 times some number will equal 4. And remember, we can do this two ways. We can use fact families, which tells me that I can take my product and divide it by a factor, and it will give me the other factor. Or I can use what we've been learning about solving single step equations here, that this is 7 times n going on here, and to undo multiplication, I'm going to divide. So I'm going to divide by what I don't want on that side anymore, because 7 divided by 7 is 1, so I've got 1n on that side. Whatever I do to one side, I'm going to do the other. So I'm still left with n equals 4/7. So 7 times 4/7 equals 4. And notice with multiplication, these are technically diagonal because that'd be 7 over 1, so they cancel out to give me 4. But since I multiplied the first term by 4/7, I'm going to multiply the second term by 4/7. So now I've got 3, or 3 over 1, if you want to make it into a fraction, times 4 over 7. So 3 times 4 is 12. 1 times 7 is 7. And that's the answer. Don't have to do anything more because it didn't tell us we had to turn it into a mixed number or anything. So it is going to be 12. I'm going to do the little slash bar, which when we're typing our answers in will be like a fraction or ratio bar over 7th. Enter. Give me the little bing. Nice work. And that is how we found the answer. Now let's go ahead and do one more. So next question, same idea here. It just put the unknown in the numerator. So I've got 12 over 11, or 12 compared to 11, is going to equal P over 12. So I'm going to look at the numbers that I already have. 11 times some number will equal 12. Well, I'm going to use my fact family knowledge, and that's going to tell me that n is going to equal the product divided by one of the factors. So my n is 12 elevenths. So since I divided 11 by 12 elevenths, I'm going to, oh, sorry, misspoke. Since I multiplied 11 by 12 over 11 to get 12, I am going to multiply this numerator by the same 12 over 11. It's going to be a funky looking number. Don't let that dissuade you. 12 times 12, what is that? 100, 144? Hopefully I did my math right. And I'm going to put it over 11 because 1 times 11 is 11. So that is going to be my answer, even if it looks weird. Don't second guess your math just because a number isn't pretty looking. I try to make them pretty looking for us in class, but I mean, in real life, it's not going to be that way. So let's see if we can find one more. Okay, good. This is exactly the type I was looking for. Notice how the variable is first. Now, if you think about this, 4 over z equals 12 over 5 equals 4 over z, right? Doesn't matter which side the 4 over z is on. So don't let this confuse you if the ratio with the variable comes first. We're still just going to use multiplication and division, and to make things just a little easier on you, I would just switch the order of the ratios so you get in the habit of multiplying the first term by some number to get the second term. In this case, you could just as easily say, well, I'm going to do 12 divided by 3 because I know already that 12 divided by 3 will give me 4. But because I like to get in the habit of multiplying by numbers, I just think it's a good practice to be in, to be comfortable with the idea that we can multiply. Remember, dividing by a number is the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. So dividing by 3 is the same as multiplying by 1/3. And since I multiply 12 by 1/3, I'm going to do the same thing to the second term, and I'm going to multiply 5 by 1/3, which incidentally will get us the same as 5 divided by 3. And 5 divided by 3 we could also write like this, and that is our answer. 5 divided by 3. There we go. So I'm hoping this helped you with just the straightforward skill aspect of solving proportions. And if I get a chance, I'll add some more videos about knowing if it's proportionate, dealing with word problems with proportions. If I don't get to that, use the videos that are provided on the site use your notes, use your peers that are comfortable with the concept, really use those resources and productively struggle through this tomorrow while I'm out. Or I guess for you it was today while I'm out. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.